Casualty, Super Cool,
los Miami Dolphins y tú rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Son los Dolphins, nuestros Miami Dolphins, el team número 1 en toda la nación. Y son ellos orgullo de Miami y de todos los latinos en la capital del sol. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Este año no me hablen de los Redskins, no me hablen de los Chargers, ni de los Dallas Cowboys, porque los Dolphins son número 1 y lo demostrarán al llegar al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Nuestra línea está mejor que nunca y nuestra defensiva fue siempre la mejor. Y es por eso que yo no tengo duda que los Miami Dolphins ganarán el Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins me voy para el Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins me voy para el Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins me voy para el Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins me voy para el Super Bowl.
Universal Casualty
Y Super Q, los primeros. Bueno, caballeros, todo el mundo que cante con nosotros. Dame una D, dame una O, dame una L, dame una P, una H, una I, una N, una S. ¿Qué es lo que tenemos? Miami Dolphins. Me voy para el Super Bowl. 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 Me voy para el Super Bowl.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
There's a team that's in our heart. Oh, fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets, fuck the fucking Jets. Fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets, fuck the fucking Jets. Fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets, fuck the fucking Jets. Fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets.
Fuck the Jets.
Fuck them.
Yeah. Hello, Miami Dolphin fans, and welcome to the Same Old Dolphin Show, sponsored by BetUS, part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. I'm Josh Katzker. With me today in person is my brother from the exact same mother, Aaron the Brain. Aaron, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
What's up?
Woo, we're in my old bedroom.
We are
This is
literally in your childhood bedroom. This is the room where many Miami Dolphin games were watched live in person. Well, I mean, we weren't in person at the games, but we watched a lot of games in here
with our my old Fisher Price radio. You know, we broadcasted that AFC divisional playoff game against the Chargers when Stoyanovich missed the kick. We watched it right there.
Right there.
We had a meltdown right there.
Right here. I mean, at that time, the room looked a little different. There was a bunk bed in here. It was a very different situation.
My very, my childhood furniture.
Yeah, I mean, this was a while ago, but it was in this room where we are recording from today. So the very rare occasion, it's been 5 years since I've been in South Florida. And let me tell you, it was a journey to get down here, dealing with some, let's just say, travel issues, we'll call it. I was not best pleased, but although we ended up being a little bit delayed, I am here and we're in one piece and we're getting to do the show together. In person in the same room. We haven't done this since, I think it was last season. We did it for the Atlanta game.
Before the Atlanta game and after the Atlanta game.
Yeah. And so, as I'm looking at this picture here, you look way bigger than me on the screen here. I think it's because you're a little bit closer.
Well, I am a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
I'm a little buxom. I'm looking a little buxom.
I mean, hey, girl.
White fish on a platter.
Let's go, baby. We love it. But it's good to be with you. It's good to be with you in person.
Likewise.
Do the show. And so we're gonna preview the Dolphins game against the Jets. We got because the Dolphins are taking on the Jets this week, the stinking, horrible, disgusting Jets, which is why we started the show with a little song. Like to start with a little song. We always like to start Jets week with the song. And so we did that. And now in a minute, we're gonna break down this game. Of course, there's always lots to talk about regarding the Miami Dolphins, and we're going to be talking about that today. We got to talk a little bit about the Tua situation. I was hoping that we might have a little bit more clear, definitive news on that front. We don't at this point have any real updates. We have some more speculation, but it feels like, according to the report from Pro Football Talk, that the NFL and NFLPA do not view the situation the same way. So we'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about the Dolphins quarterback for this game against the Jets, who we now know is going to be Teddy Bridgewater, going to lead the Dolphins into that game. We'll talk about what the Dolphins need to do to win that game. We'll make our predictions as well. But first, a reminder to everybody, if you are not doing so already, make sure you are following us on Twitter. I am at Amplified to Rock. He is at Aaron the Brain. That's at Aaron the Brain. The show is, of course, as you can see on your screen, at Same Old Dolphins. And you can download, rate, review, and subscribe to the Same Old Dolphin Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, anywhere that you get your podcast. We invite you to subscribe if you haven't done so to the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Shout out to everybody watching the show right now on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Go ahead, smash that like button. We appreciate that very much. Subscribe to the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications bell so you never miss out when a new content is added or we go live. And finally, make sure you're visiting DolphinsTalk.com each and every day. It's your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins. And, of course, this episode of the Same Old Dolphin Show is sponsored by Manscaped, the best men's below-the-waist grooming equipment on the planet. They've got razors, They've got razors, clippers, all kinds of different gimmicks. They've also got shampoo and body wash and all kinds of great stuff like that. My phone is ringing in the middle of the show, so that's very exciting.
So unprofessional.
So unbelievable. I can't believe this. And sorry about that, everybody. Right in the middle of the ad read, these poor Manscaped folks. Well, it was my wife was calling. She heard me talking about Manscaped. She got all fired up. So anyway, listen, go to manscaped.com, use the promo code Dolphins Talk. You're going to save 20%. You're going to get free shipping, and you're going to really get a bunch of really great products as well. So make sure that you do that. And
your lady friend will be blowing up your cell phone
in the middle of your podcast.
That's right.
How about that? All right, Brain. So let's get into it here. We're going to get into the game preview in just a minute. Let's start off with the Tua thing. Like we said, not a whole lot of news either way. Plenty of prognosticating, plenty of takes continuing to fly from all directions. And I don't want to get into that because there's been plenty of that to go around.
True.
And we don't need to get into at this point in time whether or not Tua is going to be back. She's calling me again. So I'm going to have to tell her that we're doing the podcast. But at any rate, Tua is trying to hopefully be back soon. He's out. What we heard now, the biggest news that we have so far is that we understand that the NFL and NFLPA may not be in agreement over how this situation was handled. And frankly, Brain, that wasn't a big surprise to me.
Yeah, and without getting too much into the weeds on it and going over things that we don't have the facts on, it sounds like the NFLPA is just hell-bent on sticking to their guns and using a 5-second video clip as their evidence. And the NFL has done their due diligence, and it seems like has come to the conclusion that there really was no wrongdoing on the part of the Miami Dolphins. It seems like that without there being a full report. I'm dying to know because they said there was going to be full transparency and they were going to release it, during the Thursday night telecast. And here we are. It's 10:17 p.m. on Thursday night. And all we know is that the NFL and the NFLPA are at odds. So it sounds like more and more like this is going to be much ado about nothing, that they've made changes to their protocol in response to social media outrage because this happened on national TV. It seems they seem to be completely ignoring other players around the league that have been in the concussion protocol and have returned to practice and look like they're not going to miss any time. The only thing that I'll say is that while first and foremost, I absolutely hope that Tua Tagovailoa takes all of the time that he needs to get healthy. What I don't want to see is the Miami Dolphins purposely holding Tua out strictly because of the optics, because of this witch hunt that's going on. That's what I don't want to see. If there is no evidence of any wrongdoing and Tua has cleared every stage of the concussion protocol, then there is no reason that the Dolphins should be playing their backup quarterback just because of social media pressure. I feel obviously, we're glad that we have a backup quarterback that we invested a lot of money in, and hopefully he will get the job done, and that will take a lot of pressure off as far as feeling any sort of rush to get Tua back in. But I would hate for the Miami Dolphins to lose football games because they're playing their backup quarterback because of social media pressure when there is no evidence that they need to be doing that.
Yeah.
We don't know that yet, but I would hate for that to be the case.
Yeah. And I think it's fair to say that from the Dolphins' perspective, it seems to me that based on how toxic and horrible social media and the NFL media can be when it wants to, it seems like unless both the NFL and the NFLPA come out and say the Dolphins did nothing wrong, everything is fine from a Dolphins operational standpoint, unless that is what is said, and that is absolutely not going to be what happens.
No.
Right? There's no way that both the NFL and NFLPA are going to agree that is what happens. No matter what happens, the Dolphins will lose the PR war about this situation. No matter what happens, there are going to be voices out there that if Tua comes back, I should say, if Tua comes back and plays this season, there will be voices demanding that this is a problem, that this is horrible, that he should be going away and never playing again. You're hearing it already. People saying that that he should be retiring and this, that, and the other thing. There's almost no way that the Dolphins can come out looking like, that they've won from a PR standpoint. All they can do is say, this is the medical information that we had. This is the medical information that we've been given. And this is what we're doing. And as soon as our medical team and the whatever medical consultants that we're dealing with, as soon as they tell us that Tua is clear and good to go, then Tua is clear and good to go and he plays. And that's it. You don't need to play PR games when these are meaningful football games to play. If he's healthy to go out there and play, then and he has been cleared, then go out there and play. And if anybody has a problem with that, it is not a problem with the Miami Dolphins. It's a problem with the National Football League. It's a problem with the game of football. That's what your problem is with, not with the Miami Dolphins. So that's the Tua conversation. Right? We know we don't have Tua now. We don't know when we're going to have Tua back. What we do know is that this week, the Dolphins are going to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Jets, and that the quarterback that is going to be leading them into battle is Teddy Bridgewater. There's been a lot of talk, Brain, about Teddy Bridgewater and about whether or not he is the right guy for the moment. And there are people that are down on Teddy Bridgewater. And I think there are a lot of people who are perhaps scarred from Jacoby Brissett. I think there are people who are reliving Jacoby Brissett memories in their head, and they're projecting that on to Teddy Bridgewater. That's one thing. The other thing is the Miami Dolphins are not about to ask Teddy Bridgewater to go and lead them into the next generation. They're not asking Tua or Teddy Bridgewater to lead this team to the Super Bowl this year and next year and the year after that and the year after that. Now, is there a possibility that Tua or Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback for the rest of the season? Yeah, sure. That's a possibility. But I think if you're the Miami Dolphins right now, you are purely viewing Teddy Bridgewater as a stopgap quarterback. You just need him to get you from point A to point B while you're waiting for Tua to return. That's all you need him to do. All you need him to do is come in and play within himself and play smart football and not turn the ball over and exist in the system that Mike McDaniel has built and implemented. And as long as he does that, that's going to be fine. Because here's the thing. If the Dolphins, if with Teddy Bridgewater, who's probably the best backup quarterback in the NFL right now, who the Dolphins decided that they wanted to pay $6 million to be the backup, if that player can't come in and help this team defeat the Jets, the Vikings, the Steelers, the Bears, the Lions, the Houston Texans, the Cleveland Browns, if the Dolphins find themselves losing a bunch of games in that stretch, most likely it is not because Teddy Bridgewater isn't the quarterback that we would like him to be. Is there a world where the Dolphins lose a bunch of those games and it's because Teddy Bridgewater has thrown a bad interception at the bad time? Sure. But given how strong a lot of people believe this Miami Dolphins roster really is, if you're finding yourself in situations where one big play is costing you the game and it's from Teddy Bridgewater, there's a different problem. There's a bigger problem to solve there. So that's what I have to say. I feel reasonably confident with Teddy. You look at his situation, you look at him when he's played in good situations, he's done well. And quite frankly, I think he's been fine even in the bad situations that he's played in.
Yeah, he's been fine. And look, we talked about it on the last show about, the 5-0 stretch in New Orleans a few years ago. And he deserves credit for that. And he played well, but he's a backup quarterback. This is the National Football League. I'm not going to sit here and say that if Teddy Bridgewater plays bad football or is a replacement level quarterback, which frankly, I think he probably is a replacement level quarterback. Most backup quarterbacks are, that, we should still be, blowing through this part of the schedule. The Dolphins have some concerns. They've got some other injuries aside from the quarterback that we're going to talk about. And if Teddy Bridgewater does not play very well, The Dolphins can absolutely lose this game on Sunday against the Jets, and they can absolutely lose a couple of these other games in this stretch, and it could absolutely derail their season. Now, you would hope that Teddy Bridgewater can play pretty well. I think the whole reason you invested the money into him to be the highest paid backup quarterback in the league was for exactly this situation where, Tua, for whatever, fair or not, he has the injury prone tag. He misses some games. This is why you got him in here. But you're not, to your point, you're not asking Teddy Bridgewater to win them the games. But you do need Teddy Bridgewater to not lose you the games. You can't.
Yes,
that's
true.
You can't sit here and say, like, we're going to blow through these teams and Teddy Bridgewater is just going to, throw for 120 yards. And then we're in a close, because then if we're in a close game and if your quarterback's throwing for 120 yards and isn't doing anything special, you're going to be in a lot of close games, whether you like it or not, even against teams like the Jets and the Steelers and the Vikings and the Lions and the Bears. Sure. And that means in crunch time, can Teddy Bridgewater make the right play? The hope is he's a veteran quarterback. He's a backup. He's been a starter in this league for enough years that this is why you got him, because you can trust him to make the right play. That said, the onus is on the defense. Onus is on the running game to really take a lot of that pressure off to Teddy Bridgewater. And furthermore, the same way I talked about Tua and how this whole idea of Mike McDaniel fixing Tua and unlocking Tua is not necessarily the case. It's more about Mike McDaniel understanding the limitations of his quarterback and putting in a system and putting players around him that are going to complement him and make the offense excel based on the strengths that Teddy Bridgewater has. I have faith in Mike McDaniel. I have faith in the weapons that are around Teddy Bridgewater that I think the Dolphins can do a good job. That said, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater has a huge leash here if he plays poorly.
Sure.
Because there's a reason why you kept a third quarterback on the roster, too.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I certainly don't mean to say there is not a world in which Teddy Bridgewater doesn't go out there and completely stink up the joint. Of course, that's a possibility. But what I'm saying is that if the Dolphins find themselves in these situations where they're losing these games, there are other aspects of this team right now that I think, while I'm not necessarily concerned about, I think that if they, without having Tua in, I think there is a little bit less margin for error in some of these other aspects of the game for the Miami Dolphins, right? For example, the defense has been doing a lot of bending but not breaking this season, right? Mm-hmm. And they have, with the exception of the Baltimore game, they've done a pretty good job keeping the other teams off of the scoreboard as much, right? With Tua's absence, there is less margin for error for that team to suddenly start giving up points. Because if the Dolphins should find themselves down 21 points in the fourth quarter, I am less confident that, I was not very confident at the time that Tua was going to be able to do that. But I don't know that I have a lot of confidence in Teddy Bridgewater's ability to bring the Dolphins back from 21 points down. Now,
you shouldn't have confidence in any quarterback bringing you back.
Now, if other teams want to play the same kind of defense where they're leaving Tyreek Hill running wide open for days and days and days, then I'll take that. Then I certainly hope that Teddy Bridgewater is going to hit that pass. But
he looked good throwing the deep ball.
He did
on Thursday.
Right. Listen, I don't want to. I typically don't want to entertain the notion of some of these the foolish people who are telling me that Teddy Bridgewater doesn't have an arm on Twitter. But if you're like one of these people that is tweeting at me and telling me that Teddy Bridgewater has an arm or has no arm, you're telling on yourself. You're telling on yourself. Teddy Bridgewater, that's silly. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So,
and those are the same people that think that Tua is elite.
I have learned that trying to rationalize the thought of people on Twitter is typically a losing battle.
Yeah, that's true.
So I try not to get into those mental acrobatics anymore. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the comments section just in general, whether it's Twitter, whether it's the podcast, YouTube. Even though we love our
YouTube people are great. What's up, YouTube?
Yeah, we love the YouTube.
The YouTube people are good.
Even Lamarcus Peppermint, he's all right. And
the beef train is tolerable. Also,
yeah,
but
tolerable is a good word.
But at any rate, listen. I'm not worried about Teddy at this point. I'm not worried about Teddy until there's a reason for me to be worried about Teddy. And at this point, there isn't.
True.
Now, if we get to Sunday and Teddy stinks up the joint, then we can start to think about that Skylar Thompson conversation, which we are not going to get into at this point in time. But I will tell you that we just did an appearance on the Go Time Dolphins podcast, and we did talk about Skylar Thompson. So look for that Go Time Dolphins podcast coming to your podcast feeds soon. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Go Time Dolphins podcast. Subscribe to @GoTimeDolphins on YouTube as well, because they are good dudes and they have got a really good show over there. All right, so let's shift to this game.
Yeah.
How about this game? Actually, before we talk about the game, let's talk about True Classic.
Okay, I should have worn my True.
You should have worn your True Classic t-shirt. I got my True Classic in the other room. Got my Dolphins t-shirt on right now. But listen, guys, TrueClassic.com. Some of the best t-shirts that you can wear. What I love about True Classic, first of all, material super soft, and it fits like real. It's nice and snug in your upper body, but then tapers off at the bottom, and it's a little bit looser. So it highlights your best attributes, right? We were talking at the beginning of the show how you look a little buxom. If you had been wearing your True Classic, you wouldn't look so buxom.
I think it makes my chest look pretty good.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a man's ear, but it's a shout out to anybody who got that reference. But
the more important thing is that, it's comfortable around the belly.
That's right.
That's what, and you don't look, I've got a big belly, and when you're, if I yawn, I stretch a little bit, in a lot of shirts, the shirt kind of rides up, it's a little bit shorter, or it gets really tight around the belly. It's just unflattering.
Yeah. You get the little belly dipping out the bottom.
Yeah, you get the Philadelphia Collins look, and it's just not good.
Yeah, so, I mean, what you want to do is go to TrueClassic.com. You want to use the promo code Dolphins Talk. You get a 25% discount over there at True Classic. And it's not just T-shirts. They've got athletic wear. They've got shorts, underwear, hoodies. I got a couple of really great True Classic hoodies. So all good stuff over there. They've got pants now as well. And my buddy Brian said that the True Classic pants that he got are the most comfortable pants that he has ever worn. And that is legit. So you got to get them. Got to get your True Classic chinos. They got jeans now as well and shorts. So a lot of really great stuff. You can bundle things together, get packs, all kinds of stuff. TrueClassic.com. Use the promo code Dolphins Talk. You're going to save 25% off of your order, and you're going to look real good. TrueClassic.com, promo code Dolphins Talk. So, MetLife takeovers coming up this weekend. A lot of Dolphins fans heading to the Meadowlands. We've been to the Meadowlands. It's a terrible place, right? There's nothing good about it.
Well, nothing would have been bad when I was at the Meadowlands. I was 3 sheets to the wind and having the time of my life. It didn't matter that it was a hole of a stadium. I was just having the time of my life.
Do you remember who was playing when you were there?
Oh yeah, Man U and Juventus.
That's right. We saw Manchester United and Juventus in the 2003 preseason tour. We've been around. I've been a Manchester United supporter for a long time. Ruud van Nistelrooy scored an incredible goal that day. But regardless, that's not the point. The point is the Meadowlands sucks, okay? And the teams that play there, although the Giants are somehow 3-1, the Giants suck. But you know who really sucks? The Jets.
That's true.
We hate the Jets, okay? And the Dolphins are going to take on the Jets. The Jets have tripped over themselves and found themselves sitting at 2-2, thanks to a ridiculous collapse by the Cleveland Browns and thanks to the second half debut of Kenny Pickett last week. The Jets find themselves at 2-2. So they've got Zach, the MILF Hunter Wilson at quarterback. And then they've got...
There's a Florida reference.
There you go. That's how we roll, baby. We're in South Florida. We're going to make some South Florida references tonight. Okay. Okay. We've already listened. There's going to be right now in the episode summary, there's not an explicit tag, but there's going to be because of the song that we sang at the beginning of the show. So anybody who's listening to this after the fact, they know to be ready. But anyway, the Dolphins are taking on the Jets this weekend, and we hate the Jets. And I don't think the Jets are as good as their 2-2 record would suggest. Whereas I do believe the Dolphins are as good as their 3-1 record suggests. But the Dolphins come in banged up. They're coming in banged up with, well, let's take a look at that injury report because it's a little rough right now. So let me pull it up here and I can read it to you.
And the injury report too.
On Thursday. That's right. Thursday. Teron Armstead, Ethan Carter, Keon Crossan, Xavier Howard, Robert Jones, and of course, Tua Tagovailoa all did not participate. Teron Armstead, I'm not worried about. This is his regular schedule. He's getting these on the veterans maintenance plan. He's going to be fine. Ethan Carter still dealing with concussion. Keon Crossan, I'm a little bit worried about that. A little bit worried about his glute shoulder situation and the fact that he hasn't participated in practice yet. Xavier Howard, a little bit worried about the fact that he's dealing with not a groin injury, but an injury to his groins, multiple groins. Robert Jones dealing with a back injury. So a little concerning on that side. So the Dolphins a little bit banged up defensively. Today, we also have Savon Ahmed, or Thursday, as we're recording, Savon Ahmed, Tyreek Hill, Brandon Jones, Zach Sealer, and Jalen Waddle all listed as limited. Ahmed and Hill being newly limited. Jalen Waddle limited, but that's an improvement over a DNP on Wednesday. And then, of course, the guys that are back to full participation, Tanner Connor, Raekwon Davis, Trey Flowers, Greg Little, Hunter Long, Cedric Wilson Jr., and then the guys with vet rest, Jerome Baker and Melvin Ingram. Dolphins a little bit banged up for this one, Brain, but I still think that they're going to be all right in this matchup against the Jets. Now, for me, since we're talking about the defense being banged up, I think this is the first place to start. We're looking at a situation where the Dolphins cornerbacks are Keon Crossan, Kader Kohu, Nick Needham, and Noah, oh my goodness, Igbenogany.
And Crossan's hurt too.
And Crossan's banged up too. Of course, the Dolphins also brought in Tino Ellis today to look at him. So, I mean, there's a possibility that Tino Ellis could be on the roster come Sunday. But that secondary is banged up. So what that means that it becomes even more important for this game on Sunday for that Dolphins defensive front to get home on Zach Wilson. This team was, I mean, one of the things I was most disappointed about in that game against Cincinnati, aside from the injury, aside from losing the game, was the fact that we did not really get to Joe Burrow at all in that game. After we generated tons of pressure on Josh Allen and granted a beat up Buffalo offensive line, we struggled to bring that heat to Zach Wilson or to Joe Burrow. The Jets offensive line is a shambles right now as well. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. So the Dolphins defensive front needs to be able to get to Zach Wilson and put him off schedule and make him make mistakes to make up for the fact that that secondary is beat up. You can't let him sit back there all day and work on, you know, this young, inexperienced secondary. So for me, looking at this game, that's the most important thing on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would also say that a lot of the issues that they've had from a pressure standpoint and getting home and it really showing in the box score with sacks has been a combination of things. First and foremost, because of their lack of health in the secondary, particularly at corner, they're playing a lot less man press. Like, it goes hand in hand with the defense that they're trying to run. If you're trying to blitz, you're leaving yourself exposed and you're going to force the quarterback to get rid of the ball early. So what you want to do is you don't want those receivers to have free releases where they're hot and they can get like easily open on a quick slant. And that's what's happening because we're playing a lot more soft coverage, a lot more zone in combination with these blitzes, where normally we would be playing man press. We'd put our corners on an island and we'd say, you guys disrupt the timing of these routes, give the pass rushers that extra second or two to get home. And then force the quarterback to go somewhere else and have to make a quick, hasty decision. That's how you get the turnovers. That's how you end up with the quarterback thinking a second too long and getting the sack. They're not playing complementary football on the defensive side of the ball. So instead, what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot more soft coverage and you're seeing a lot more bend but not break, where the defense in general has given up a lot of yards. But what they're also doing at a very high level is when the opposing team's getting in these third and fourth down situations and short, the defense has been elite at stopping these short yardage situations, which I think is huge and is going to be something to continue to monitor throughout the season, as this could be a calling card for this defense. And if the corners get healthy, eventually you will see this defense really hitting their stride. But that said, are they going to get healthy? Because X seems like he's getting less healthy by the week. Keon Crosson's hurt. We thought Byron Jones was going to be ready for week 1. We're now going into week 5 after he was on the PUP, and we were all like, well, he's going to come back for week 5. And now, like, he was ruled out by what, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah, it's going to be
like
it's,
he
it's
might
gonna
not
be a
be
while.
back. He might not be back by week 6. We don't know when Tua might be back before Byron Jones comes back.
Yeah,
is a realistic right now. And so if that's not going to change and X isn't healthy, I mean, you're paying like $40 million to your corners, to your starting corners. And if they're not out there or they're not healthy and you have to rely on Cater Kohu and Nick Needham and Keon Crossan and Noah Igbenogany, and your saving grace is, oh, we're kicking the tires on Tino Ellis, well, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well,
So like, you've got to, at the very least, have a little bit of concern. I'm not saying that you should panic about the defense, but you should have a little bit of concern. It's one thing to give up a lot of yards and to not look great against Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. But if Zach Wilson scorches you, and then, do we got the Vikings next or we got the Steelers?
we got the Vikings next.
I mean, look, Kirk Cousins can beat you.
Yeah, and
You're
they're
gonna have
weapons.
to,
That team has weapons.
if you don't have X and Byron Jones, like, who's going to cover Justin Jefferson? Like, I mean, that's a problem that needs to be, solved here. So I think you should have some concern, and I think there's something to be said that while injuries are certainly a factor, opponents are certainly a factor, game script is a factor, there's something to be said about, when we know that Josh Boyer is calling the plays defensively, the defense has not necessarily played up to snuff. Now, I'll say this, though, in Josh Boyer's defense. The defense really, as many yards as they gave up in that game against Buffalo, is really a Herculean effort to keep that team to 17 points offensively. Yep. So you can't really be too angry about that. And honestly, they kept them in that Cincinnati game until the very end of the game.
That's right.
When X basically went out and you were basically dealing with Cater Kohu and Nick Needham being your corners. But if that's any indication of what we're going to see, then they could be in trouble in this game against the Jets.
Yeah. But then again, if you're prepared to go into that game that way, hopefully it's a little bit of a different situation. But yes, regardless, as Mike just said here in the YouTube comments, he said that if X is out with Byron Jones out, it's going to get extra dicey back there. And I think extra dicey is a really good way to describe it.
Is that going to be the title of the show?
Extra dicey? I think it is. Good job, Mike. You did it. All right. So let's take a look at the other side of the ball when the Dolphins are on offense. So now you got Teddy Bridgewater. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting about Teddy Bridgewater is that he is a bigger, slightly more athletic quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. And I think that will serve him in this Mike McDaniel offense in some ways that might actually, there are certain aspects of this Mike McDaniel offense that may end up looking better because Teddy Bridgewater is operating the offense as opposed to Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh, you are going to get some hate for that comment.
Yeah, but you know what? I just told you I'm not doing psychoanalysis of Twitter people anymore. So if people
let me ask you a question. I don't want this to be the whole show, but I mean that's a huge statement that you just made, and I don't necessarily disagree. But if the offense looks better with Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, hold on. I didn't say the offense in general. I say I think there are aspects of the offense that could work better. He's got that ability to move, to bootleg, to get outside.
Well, Tua moves better than
Tua does move
Bridgewater.
well, but what we've seen with Tua when he moves around is that can sometimes lead him into panic, where he gets outside and then he struggles to make a decision. He holds onto the ball too long. And he tries to make a play, and sometimes you end up in a situation like what happened in the Cincinnati game, right? So I just feel like Bridgewater, I mean, he has a tendency to hold onto the ball a little bit as well, but I feel like he is going to be maybe less reluctant than Tua to take some of those open yards with his legs if they're presented.
I disagree on that. I think that Tua is definitely more mobile than Teddy Bridgewater. The one area where I'd say Teddy Bridgewater, I would say there's two areas. One, Teddy Bridgewater's got a stronger arm. So, the plays, like, for example, in the Thursday night game against Cincinnati, the deep ball to Tyreek Hill, where he threw an absolute rocket. That's a ball that, frankly, unless he's got an extremely clean pocket and really puts everything into it, Tua is not making that throw as well as Teddy Bridgewater. You're also, like you saw earlier in that game before he went out with the injury, there was a player at his feet. So he didn't step into a deep ball as much, and the ball hung up there and resulted in an interception. You're not going to see that as much with Teddy Bridgewater. The other area where I'd say is you're not going to see as many really head-scratching, like, man, what was he thinking, interception throws from Teddy Bridgewater, because Teddy Bridgewater is really at his core a risk-averse quarterback. He's more of a check-down quarterback. Now, that said, Teddy Bridgewater is not going to make the quick reads and anticipate throws like Tua. So he's going to hold on to the ball and he's going to miss some opportunities. He's not as accurate as Tua, so he's going to miss some throws in that regard. And he's not as mobile as Tua. So, the ability to get away from the pass rush, I don't think he's quite as good as Tua. So I'm not like, I think it's a clear downgrade from Tua to Teddy Bridgewater. And that's not to say that there aren't things that Teddy Bridgewater can do with this offense, but he just needs to play within himself the same way Tua needed to play within himself to kind of unlock the potential of this offense.
Yeah. And I quite frankly, I trust Mike McDaniel to come up with a game plan with the weapons that are around Teddy that are going to allow him to succeed in this game. But you know what is going to be key to that? Whether or not the Dolphins are able to start running the ball.
100%.
That is absolutely going to be the single biggest point in this game for this offense, to get this offense moving. The big thing is, one of the things that I talked about, right, is if you find yourself losing to these games, a bunch of these games in the stretch that's coming up, it's not all on Teddy. And part of what I mean by that is, part of the way that you take the game out of being in Teddy's hands all the time is you've got to establish that running game. And if you can establish that run game, if you can find a way to not be running for 2.8 yards per carry, if you can find a way to really, really commit to running the ball. And I know that a lot of what it's been the last couple of weeks has been a game script situations where the Dolphins have sort of gotten away from running the ball. But if you can put yourself in situations where you can really work to establish that running game, I think that that's going to go a long way to helping to, sort of take the game out of Teddy's hands a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to see us be able to establish the run. Anytime you're playing your backup quarterback, you definitely want to establish the run. Obviously, Mike McDaniel's got the background of being a run game coordinator. That's his bread and butter. We've heard all offseason when they hired him, when the way they built this team with the zone blocking scheme, that in spite of having all the weapons and all the talk being about Tua, that at the core, this offense was going to be an offense that runs the football. And we haven't seen that so far. And it's understandable given the game scripts, given the opponents, given the weapons that you do have. I understand why they haven't been as patient and felt the need to just all out go into the running game. But now's the time. Now is the time to first off, I think it starts with the defense.
Yep.
Because the defense has to allow you, like if the Jets get the ball first and they go right down the field and score a touchdown, and then the offense doesn't do anything, and then the Jets go down and score again, and you find yourself down 2 possessions on the road, you're gonna probably go away from the run game. So it starts with the defense getting their stuff together early in this game and setting the tone. You set the tone that the defense has this game under control, and you can do whatever you want on offense, and you can be patient. And I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities for Miami to get that. That said, the Jets are not a bad rush defense.
No.
And so they're not the easiest team to run the football against, but you'd like to see a little bit more balance because you are playing the game with your backup quarterback.
That's absolutely right. And listen, we need Teddy to be a hot dog, and you can't have a hot dog without some mustard.
Oh, Jesus.
What?
Wow.
Is that bad?
You tell me.
I got 2 kids. I worked for that joke.
Oh. Keep working.
Okay. Keep going. I think people just unsubscribe from the channel. Well, all right. So I think it's time to make a prediction for this game then. Yeah?
All right.
You
Yeah,
ready?
let's do it.
The question is, are you going to make the same prediction that you made on the Go Time Dolphins?
Well, I mean, I kind of feel hypocritical if I don't.
Okay. Well, go ahead, make your prediction.
Yeah, so
I mean, anybody that's watching live has absolutely not seen the Go Time Dolphins yet. So.
Yeah, but I mean, if I say it, even if they're watching live on this, then they're going to say, "Oh, well, he's a hypocrite on that other show." So, I mean, you got to have consistency.
So make the call.
I'm worried. I was not worried about this game as much a week ago, in spite of the Tua injury. But the closer we get, finding out that Byron Jones is going to be out, finding out that X isn't practicing, Tyreek Hill ends up on the injury report later in the week, which means he got injured some point during practice. It's never a good thing when you're not on the injury report to start the week and then you end up on the injury report later in the week. That is a bad trend. These are all very concerning things. And the Jets are coming into this game, rightfully or not, with some confidence. They've got this game at home. It's a division rivalry. They've been hearing about how the Dolphins have had their number. They've been hearing about how the Dolphins are 3-1. The Jets are just got their quarterback back that they drafted with a high first-round pick last week. He led them on a game-winning drive. There's momentum there. There's excitement there. This is not going to be an easy game. That said, at this point, I believe that Teddy Bridgewater can do enough and that the defense will do enough to hold the Jets down and that the Dolphins can squeak out a tough divisional game on the road. Miami wins 20-17.
Well, I think the Dolphins are going to exert a little bit of control. I think it's one of those games that's set up to be a little bit of a banana skin, if you will. It's a little bit of not a trap game necessarily, but it has an opportunity to be a game that the Dolphins trip up on a little bit. But I think another aspect that is important, in spite of the fact that the Dolphins are a little bit banged up, they also have had a week and a half off. And that is going to be huge into this game. And that means that Mike McDaniel has had a week and a half to game plan. He's had a week and a half to plan for Teddy Bridgewater to come in and start this game for the Dolphins. And so I feel like it might not be the prettiest game at times. There may be some times where it's a little bit ugly, and things don't quite go as smoothly. There may be some misconnections. There's some hiccups here and there. But I think largely the Dolphins are going to be able to control this game a bit more than they have in the past few weeks. And I think ultimately they're going to come away with a victory that may feel reasonably comfortable. And I think they're going to get the win. They're going to go to 4-1. They're going to be 3-0 in the AFC East. And they're going to walk out of the Meadowlands with a 24-13 victory over the stinking, horrible, disgusting New York Jets.
Very nice. You went with the same prediction as you made on the on Go Time Dolphins as well. So
Mike, you can't be hypocritical.
very true.
Got to be consistent. People are, they come here for consistency. And I feel like we've been reasonably consistent, throughout the years.
Yeah, I feel like we've been consistent.
I would say pretty confidently that we are the same old Dolphin show.
Definitely the same old Dolphins.
Yeah. So anyway, so there it is. So that's it. The Dolphins, we've made our picks. We both believe the Dolphins are going to get the big win over the Jets on Sunday, which is really exciting. And hopefully that all comes to fruition, right? So I think we're going to wrap it up here, but I think maybe before we do, we should sing the song one more time. What do you think?
I'm always down.
Great. So let's just tell the people where they can find us. You are
at Aaron the Brain on Twitter.
I'm at Amplified to Rock. The show is at Same Old Dolphins. You can download, rate, review, and subscribe to the Same Old Dolphins on Apple Podcasts. Thank you to anybody who's left us a 5-star rating and positive review. We appreciate you. Subscribe to the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Smash the like button on this video on YouTube. Go ahead, smash it. Thank you very much for doing that. And visit dolphinstalk.com each and every day. It is your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins. We're ready for the big game on Sunday. Take care of yourselves and each other. And as always,
Fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets, fuck the fucking Jets. Fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets, fuck the fucking Jets. Fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets, fuck the fucking Jets. Fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets, fuck the Jets.
Fuck the Jets.
Fuck the Jets.
And go Dolphins.
Fuck the Jets.